Good day everyone, I'm Rose Viroderos, your teacher for today's lesson. Join me as we learn about the music of the 20th century. So for today's lesson, you will be able to describe the distinct musical elements of given pieces in the 20th century styles and explain the performance practice of the 20th century music. What music do you usually listen to? Are you into rock? Pop? Or hip-hop?
Din sa kanta, may manager ka na ba? Grabe na talaga.
I'm sure that you enjoy listening to these genres of music. Like any other products of modernization, these songs have gone through several phases of development. Let's go down the memory lane and discover the roots of today's music. The styles of modern songs can be traced back from the 20th century. The innovative and experimental styles of the 20th century music are the influences of the genius composers. These composers clearly reflect the growing globalization of musical styles in the 20th century. When you were in grade 9, you learned about Western music and its history from Middle Ages to the Romantic period. Let us go back to those eras of music. Try to recall the musical periods based from the given musical characteristic. Are you ready? Let's start! As you continue your journey through the ages of music, you will get a view of how music has developed into what it is today. The first quarter covers music of the 20th century, which is also known as contemporary music. You will discover different movements in this period, meet the different composers, and observe their distinct techniques and style. Music of the 20th century, from 1900 to 2000. The start of the 20th century saw the rise of distinct musical styles that reflected a move away from the conventions of earlier Western classical music. As the world entered the 20th century, a new era in music was introduced, and Impressionism was one of the earliest musical forms that paved way to this modern era. Impressionism, a term borrowed from painting to describe music that is intended to convey an impression, often of natural phenomena rather than a dramatic or narrative idea. Impressionism is a French movement in the late 19th and early 20th century. The sentimental melodies and dramatic emotionalism of the preceding Romantic period, whose themes and melody are easy to recognize and enjoy, were being replaced in favor of moods and impressions. Features of Impressionism music are as follows. The use of color, or in musical terms, timbre, which can be achieved through orchestration, harmonic usage, texture. New combinations of extended chords, harmonies, whole tone, chromatic scales, and pentatonic scales emerge. Impressionism was an attempt not to depict reality, but merely to suggest it. One of the most important and influential of the 20th century composers was Claude Debussy. He was born on August 22, 1862 in a small town called Saint-Germain-en-Laye in France. He is the most important and influential composer of the 20th century. He was the primary exponent of the Impressionist composers. He changed the course of musical development by dissolving traditional rules and conventions into a new language of possibilities in harmony, rhythm, form, texture, and color. He composed a total of more or less 227 masterpieces, which include orchestral music, chamber music, piano music, operas, ballet, songs, and other vocal music. As the father of the modern school of composition, he made his mark on the styles of the later 20th century. His work includes String Quartet, L'Amour in 1905, a highly imaginative and atmospheric symphonic work for orchestra about the sea, Premier Arabesque, and Clair de Lune, the third and the most famous movement of the Suite Bergament. Joseph Maurice Ravel from 1875 to 1937. Joseph Maurice Ravel was born in Sevres, France to a Basque mother and a Swiss father. He entered the Paris Conservatory at the age of 14, where he studied with eminent French composers Gabriel Fauré. The compositional style of Ravel is mainly characterized by its uniquely innovative but not atonal style of harmony treatment. His works are defined with intricate and sometimes modal melodies and extended chordal components. It demands considerable technical virtuosity from the performer, which is the character, ability, or skill of a virtuoso, a person who is exemplary in musical technique or execution. His work includes Pavane for a Dead Princess, String Quartet, Sonatine for Piano, Rhapsody Espagnole, and Bolero. Ravel was a perfectionist and every bit a musical craftsman. He strongly adhered to the classical form, specifically its ternary structure. A strong advocate of Russian music, he also admired the music of Chopin, Liszt, Schubert, and Mendelssohn. He died in Paris in 1937. Expressionism. The term Expressionism was originally used in visual and literary arts and was probably first applied to music in 1918. Especially to Schoenberg, he veered away from traditional forms of beauty to convey powerful feelings in his music. It reveals the composer's mind instead of presenting an impression of the environment. It used atonality and the 12-tone scale, lacking stable and conventional harmonies. It served as a medium for expressing strong emotions such as anxiety, rage, and alienation. Features of Expressionism music are as follows. A high degree of dissonance. Dissonance is the quality of sounds that seems unstable. Extreme contrast of dynamics, from very soft to very loud. Constant changing of textures. Distorted melodies and harmonies. And angular melodies with wide laps. Arnold Schoenberg was born on September 13, 1874 in a working-class suburb of Vienna, Austria. He taught himself music theory but took lessons in counterpoint. His works was greatly influenced by the German composer Richard Wagner, as evident in his symphonic poem Pelléas Melisande No. 5 in 1903, a counterpoint of Debussy's opera of the same title. Schoenberg's styles in music reformed from time to time. From the early influences of Wagner, his tonal preference gradually evolved to something dissonant and atonal. As he explored the use of chromatic harmonies, he was responsible for the establishment of the 12-tone system. His famous work includes Veklartinach, Three Pieces for Piano No. 11, Pierrot Lunaire, and Violin Concerto. Although full of melodic and lyrical interest, his music was also extremely complex, creating heavy demands on the listener. He experienced trichastic-phobia, fear of number 13. Schoenberg died on July 13, 1951 in Los Angeles, California, USA, where he had settled since 1934. Another famous expressionist was Igor Stravinsky from 1882 to 1971. He was born in Oranienbaum, now Lomonosov, Russia, on June 17, 1882. Stravinsky's early music reflected the influence of his teacher, the Russian composer Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. But in his notable composition, The Firebird Suite, 1910, which was composed for the Diaghilev Russian Ballet, his skillful handling of material and rhythmic inventiveness went beyond anything written by his Russian predecessor. He added a new ingredient to his nationalistic music style. The Rite of Spring, 1913, was another outstanding work showcasing his new technique. His famous work includes Ballet Petrushka, 1911, featuring shifting rhythms and polytonality, a signature device of the composer. The Nightingale in 1914, Three Tales for Children, 1917, Duo Concertant in 1932, and The Rake's Progress, 1951, a full-length opera. Stravinsky wrote approximately 127 works, including concerti, orchestral music, instrumental music, operas, ballet, solo vocal, and choral music. Concerti or concerto is a musical composition for a solo instrument or instruments accompanied by an orchestra, especially one conceived on a relatively large scale. He died in New York City on April 6, 1971. This has been your teacher, Rose Miraderos, giving you a message that music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, insight to the imagination, and life to everything by Plato. See you on our next episode. Goodbye!